If you'd like online business explained to you in a way that you can actually understand, go to latenightim.com/explain. It's completely free, and I made it just for you. Now, how about an episode?
Episode 225.
Late Night Internet Marketing.
This week on the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast, I'm going to teach you 2 lessons from internet marketing that I actually observed out in nature this week. All this and more on the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
The Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
You've been working for somebody else, but you want a business to run yourself. You want to know how to start and where to begin. Can you get out your comfort zone, my friend? Yes, you can do it right when it's late at night. At the end of the day, your dreams burning inside. So keep it up and you will find that you're building your business one night at a time.
And now, broadcasting late at night from a little studio in the big state of Texas, your host, Mark Mason.
Hey, how is everyone doing? I am Mark Mason, and this is the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast. I hope your 2021 is wrapping up in spectacular fashion. I hope you're having an amazing last week of the year, and I hope you're charged and ready to go into 2022. Wow, I can't believe that it's already time to do this again. It seems like I was just in front of the mic a year ago, and we were just talking about how the new year was going to begin, and we were all excited, as I recall, about how we were going to put the COVID virus behind us. Well, that didn't exactly work out the way we'd hoped, but a lot of us had really spectacular years, and I think we probably all can find some things to reflect on for this year that were fantastic. For me, most recently, it was the Christmas holidays. I had my family here in the house. My mom was in town. My wife's extended family came over for Christmas, and my mom was there too. We had a lot of good food. The only weird thing was it was incredibly warm here in Texas. Really weird. Christmas in the 80s Fahrenheit does not feel like Christmas to me. And I just thought it was really strange. And I much prefer a cooler Christmas. I don't require snow, although that is spectacularly magical whenever it snows on Christmas. As you can imagine, we don't get that very often here in Texas. Occasionally, it will snow on Christmas Eve and we'll wake up to a white Christmas, but at least something in the 50s Fahrenheit would have been nice. Instead, we were pushing 80 something on Christmas Day, setting records for the temperature on Christmas and just generally sweating in shorts and a t-shirt on Christmas. And to me, that just doesn't feel much like Christmas, but it was Christmas nonetheless. It was a fantastic time for me and my family. And I hope wherever you are, whatever it is that you celebrate, whatever part of the world that you're in, whatever the temperature was, I hope that you had a fantastic week this week, doing whatever it is that you do with your family and wrapping up the crazy year of 2021. We've got 2022 in front of us now. And during the week, as I was off from my day job and running around town, I ran across 2 things that I thought were interesting and should bring back to the podcast that will be helpful in your marketing journey. Now, I often do this over the years. I have taken the time to observe marketing in nature and tell you about what I think about how it applies to your internet business. And so I wanted to do that today because 2 things hit me right in the face.
It's time to get to work building your internet business. One night at a time.
One night at a time.
the very first thing that happened to me was the day after Christmas. This was just this weekend, and I was taking care of something from Santa Claus. So Santa Claus brought an amazing 36-gallon fish tank to my daughter, and the problem was this fish tank had little tiny stress fractures in near the corners of the tank. And as an engineer, I see these stress fractures and I know what the future will bring there, right? Those won't get better over time. They'll only get worse. And I was concerned that once there was 36 gallons of water in this tank, that the pressure from the water would make those cracks worse. And eventually the crack would leak or the tank rather would leak, or even worse, the tank would eventually catastrophically fail, and I'd have 36 gallons of water on the floor in my daughter's bedroom, which, by the way, is directly over my bedroom. So I definitely did not want that to happen. You can imagine that fish flopping around on the floor and water coming through the ceiling. That's not the scene I was looking for. Incidentally, if you're wondering about that whole kind of thing, for those of you that aren't engineers, that water, 36 gallons of water, weighs almost 300 pounds. And so that's a lot of pressure on a glass enclosure. And so I thought the structural integrity of this was really important. So I happen to know, being tight with Santa Claus, I happen to know where this fish tank came from. And so I took it back. The manager was super nice, explained the situation, showed the cracks, didn't get any of that normal hassles that you might get from a store like that on the day after Christmas. There was no concern about whether or not I had damaged the tank or whether or not it had fallen out of Santa's sleigh or any of that kind of stuff. The store just happily exchanged the tank with no fuss at all. It was really fantastic. In fact, I'll name the store. It was Pet Smart, which is a very large pet chain here in the United States, Pet Smart. And so they were fantastic. I talked to the store manager. She happened to be cleaning up things. I was there the moment the store opened the day after Christmas, and she was wonderful. Now, there's an internet marketing lesson for you right there, and that is that just treat people well. Treat people the way you want to be treated in your business, because what can happen is a podcaster can come into your store, and if they have a good experience, they're going to tell people about it. And now you all know that I think I got a fantastic customer experience at PetSmart, and you might as well if you go there. So I'm going there to exchange this tank. I get it done. They have it in stock. I get up to the register, and I thought it was really interesting. When I went to check out, they asked me for my marketing capture information, my PetSmart gift card, or my PetSmart number, which I never have, but I know my own phone number. So I'm sure you've been through this many times. You give them your phone number, and they use that phone number to correlate your purchase data, keep track of what you're buying, and eventually market to you, as well as other things. They use it for all kinds of things in your business. But basically, those loyalty programs are used, as you well know, to identify you. And then that information is used as marketing. Now, there's some other benefits to those programs that they use to entice you to participate. You often get a discount, you accumulate points, and so forth. So those loyalty programs do also have a retention purpose, but I think their main value, it's well understood, is in the marketing data that helps them collect and build demographic profiles across the company and so forth. And so I gave them my number, as I often do, and they said, "Are you Paula?" which is my wife's name. And I said, "No, I'm not, but I know Paula very well." And so I went on with my purchase, and then they said, "Hey, we need you to make sure that your address information is correct." And so then they take you over. The little credit card machine has a display on it. And what I thought was interesting was the person who was completing the transaction was very specific. Please make sure all your information is correct. And she gave me the impression that what I was doing was confirming that my email and other address information was correct in the system. But actually, what the display was telling me was that I was agreeing to let them use my information, which I was indeed confirming, for marketing purposes. And I thought that this was at least technically a little bit misleading from a marketing regulation standpoint. I'm not misled at all. Let me be clear. I know exactly what PetSmart is doing with my data, and I don't care at all. I'm not one of these data privacy advocates. I couldn't care less about data privacy. I personally think, for me personally, it's totally overblown. If you want to direct targeted marketing ads at me that are specifically what I want to buy, I think that's great. In fact, I would much rather see those ads than ads that I don't care about. I know there are big arguments about slippery slopes around data privacy and so forth. It's just not something I'm very excited about or interested in. But I did think that this very young, probably insufficiently trained cashier person at PetSmart didn't do a very good job of explaining to me what I was actually doing. I was opting into their marketing infrastructure by clicking OK on this little credit card machine. And it said so in legalese right there on the credit card machine. And I wasn't offended by this, but it made me think of GDPR, which is something that you need to worry about. And so I thought we could talk about that on the podcast a little bit. GDPR came out in May of 2018. It's been a while. We haven't talked about it in a while. And I just wanted to remind you that this is a thing. And what does it mean? And who is it for? And what should you do? Now, GDPR is this, at the time it was groundbreaking. It was a privacy law in Europe that regulates how companies collect and handle and protect personal data. And it applies to you not only if you're in Europe, but technically it applies to you if you have customers or collect data from people in Europe. Now, their ability to enforce it here in the United States has been a matter of some debate. And I'm not a GDPR expert. I'm not a privacy attorney or an internet law attorney. And if you have legitimate questions about the details of the implementation of GDPR, you should talk to someone who is an expert in this topic. But basically, this is a law in Europe that is designed to protect people and their personal data. And I think what's important about it for us here in the U.S. is that the United States will typically follow suit with these sorts of things eventually. And typically the way it goes is the Europeans will do something, and then California will do something, and then over time, the rest of the United States will do something similar. And so I think you should reasonably expect, especially the way public sentiment is against companies like Facebook and Google with regard to protection of your data, that increasingly there will be more and more regulations in the United States that look like GDPR. In fact, we've actually seen this happening. So what does this mean? I think just at a very high level, it means that when you collect email addresses from people, which is something that we typically do, you should make an effort to try and comply with GDPR, or at least the spirit of GDPR. You should be working in that direction. And I think technically, if you have people coming from Europe, you technically need to comply with GDPR, and you should do that so that to protect yourself from that, or you should stop accepting opt-ins from Europe. And that's something that we talked about in 2018. I'm not really wanting to get into the details of how you do that, although your email service provider, if you're using a good one like ConvertKit, for example, which is who I use, you can get good information from them about exactly what you need to do to comply with GDPR specifically on your website. But in general, what you want to do is you want to collect information legally and use it fairly. And we talked a little bit about this last week in the sense that we talked about not misleading users or people that opt into your list about what you're going to do with the information that you collect. If you're going to send them marketing information, you should let them know that. And it'll make you feel like maybe they're not going to want to give you their email. And I say that's fine. If you're going to use the email for a purpose and they don't want to be part of that, that's fine. And maybe you need a better lead magnet. You know, I don't know what to tell you there other than don't trick people into giving you their email address. I think also a good practice with GDPR is to try and not take more information than you need. If you don't need the last name, don't take it. If you don't need the phone number, don't take that. If you're not going to use that information, don't take it, because that's just more information that you need to keep in a compliant way and you need to protect, and you need to, all the GDPR things, you need to be able to show them what information you have, and you need to be able to delete it forever and all that. But if you didn't collect it in the first place, then you've got less to take care of. And then, of course, you need to protect your data with really good technology. And I think for me, what that means is use a reputable email service provider. Don't hack together some spreadsheet that's on a shared drive in, space somewhere that's not well locked down, because if something happens and that data is lost or you lose control of that data, that's a problem in terms of GDPR. You need to protect people's data and not assume that that's all going to take care of itself. And then I think the last thing, a really good thing to do with GDPR is if you're in a situation where you don't need the data anymore, for example, someone opts out of your list or whatever, make sure that data is deleted. Don't keep data around that's no longer relevant. These are good ideas, but I just want to remind you, based on my experience at PetSmart, that it's really important that you don't mislead people about what's happening with their data, and that you pay attention to regulations like GDPR or other regulations in the United States. If you happen to live in California, there are special regulations that may apply to you. Make sure you know what those are and that you are taking care of that. Okay, that's the first thing. My thoughts on GDPR. Second thing that happened to me was also really interesting. I was just driving down the road and I heard this really kind of funky Coke Zero commercial that we've been hearing. You've got to try it first.
I need to try it first.
So this Coke Zero commercial, I don't know what's caught my attention about this, but I want to talk a little bit about the marketing strategy about this. So what's happened here, if you're not familiar with what's going on with the Coke brand, Coke has three main products. They have regular Coke, they have Diet Coke, which uses aspartame, I think, and then they've got Coke Zero. Now, the thing about Diet Coke is it tastes like a diet drink. And the thing about Coke is it's loaded with sugar. So they have this third product that is called Coke Zero that's supposed to taste like it's loaded with sugar, but it is a diet drink. It's a 0-calorie drink. And they're competing with, I guess, Pepsi Zero or whatever they call the Pepsi product. I don't like Pepsi. But they're competing with this Pepsi product, and Coke Zero, to my understanding, while there are a lot of people that really like Coke Zero, it has not performed as well as they would like. And so they have reformulated Coke Zero recently. Again, this is my understanding, and they're remarketing Coke Zero and talking about how great it is now. And their slogan is, you've got to try it first. Now, why is that the slogan? And that's what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today. What is the marketing principle that Coke is exercising when they go through that particular marketing campaign? After all, I'm sure you've seen these ads. They're spending $42 jillion with this "you've got to try it first" campaign, which is a little bit catchy, but it's certainly not very viral. What are they doing? And what I would say they are doing is something that is fundamental in marketing. They are addressing the primary objection that people have about Coke Zero. The primary reason that people aren't buying Coke Zero is that they've already made up their mind that they either don't like it or won't like it. I don't think I'm going to like that, so I'm not going to pick it up and try it. I'm not going to spend the dollar to get that Coke Zero because I've already decided that I don't like it. And my expectation is when they did focus groups and asked people, would you like to try a Coke Zero? The big answer they got back for people who said no was, no, I've already made my decision on Coke Zero. I've had it before. I've heard about it. I don't want that. I would suspect that's what their focus groups told them. And therefore, they launched a marketing campaign that said, hey, wait a minute. This isn't what you think it is. You've got to try it first and make your own decision. So what they're going after here are people who don't currently use their product and have an objection. And their primary objection, an objection is a thing in sales and marketing that people put up to tell you why they're not going to take the action that you're asking them to take. And the objection that people are giving them is, I've already decided I don't want it. And Coke is saying, no, you've got to try it first because the information that you have is out of date. That's the implication. You haven't tried the new one, or you really don't know what you're talking about. You need to try it and make your own decision. I think that's really smart. I don't know if this marketing campaign has been effective for them, although I assume it must be because they continue to run these ads. And the lesson for you is, do you know what your customer's primary objection is? The people that don't buy your product, what is the primary reason that they're not buying the product? And usually the only way to find this out is to construct a campaign where you can reach out to people who didn't buy and straight up ask them, hey, how come you're not buying? You can ask, but the best data you're going to get is after a launch, target all of the people that didn't buy and just ask them why they didn't. And sometimes you can incentivize them to answer and get this information. So why didn't you buy the product? And then take that objection and build the answer into your marketing preemptively. By this, I mean, it's like a preemptive strike in warfare, right? Before they have an opportunity to have the objection, to form the objection in their mind, go ahead and put it out there in your sales copy. You know, some people say that they don't even like Coke Zero, and what they don't realize is we've completely changed the entire formula. This is not your dad's Coke Zero, okay? This is a new Coke Zero that's absolutely amazing, and you're not going to believe how much this has changed. In fact, 9 out of 10 people that try this product think it's amazing and improved over what we had before. And they said, boy, I wish I had tried this first before I formed my opinion, or whatever, you know, that kind of copy. So you're going to want to bring your objections into the sales copy. And sometimes I hear people say, well, Mark, I'm worried that if I let people know that there are objections, that's just going to solidify them in their mind. And I understand that. I understand that. But trust me, those people are going to come up with those objections anyway. And Zig Ziglar used to say most people have a number tattooed on when you're trying to sell someone something, most people have a number tattooed on the front of their forehead. You just can't see it. That's the number of objections that you have to overcome before someone will buy something. Everyone has these objections. If you go to buy a car, the guy says, are you ready to buy today? You say, no, we're not ready yet. We're just looking. We're not ready yet. We don't want to pay that much. We want a different color. We want to check and see if somebody else has got a better price. We're not sure this is the car we want. All these different objections that people have. One of the main ideas in sales is that if you overcome all of a person's objections, the only thing that is left for them is to buy the product. And so I think in the case of this Coke thing, one of the things that's going on here is they feel like, and I think it's true, if they overcome the overwhelming objection that people have, that they've already decided they don't like it, by telling them, no, not only is that maybe not right, you've got to try it first, which is the combination of overcoming an objection combined with a call to action, which is one of the things that makes this brilliant. Not only are they telling people, hey, your objection is probably not correct, but I'm going to call you to action to actually go try it. I think this is really great. And this actually worked for me. I'm not a Coke Zero drinker. I'm a Diet Coke drinker. And I saw Coke Zero in the cooler at work in the cafeteria, and I recalled this marketing campaign, and I thought, I'm this person. I'm someone who has decided that I don't love Coke Zero, and I am maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to try it first. And so I tried it, and it was better. They have improved it in my view. I still like Diet Coke better. And I still know the third thing, which is I shouldn't be drinking either one of those drinks. I should be drinking water, but I still prefer regular Diet Coke, but I tried it. So the marketing campaign worked on me, and it worked on me because they overcame my objection and they called me to action, which I think is super great. So, lesson for you, understand the objections that your customers have and overcome them. Okay, that's what I've got for you this week. This is the last late night internet marketing podcast of the year 2021. I will start fresh next week. I'll be right back at you. We're going to be focused in 2022 on the whole idea of building businesses by adding value, teaching people how to do things that they want to do, helping people accomplish their goals, and building businesses around that, and how you can build your very own business around that idea. That's what we'll be focused on in 2022. I'll be right back at you next week with another episode. And I'll just be straight out front with you. My goal for the first time ever is to release 52 episodes in a year in 2022. I was looking back, and I think in the 10 years of this podcast, I don't think I've ever made it through an entire year without missing a week. That is the goal for 2022. We'll see how we do. I'll be dropping episodes on Monday. I'm sure a couple of weeks they'll be late, but my goal is by the end of the year to have 52 episodes that have been released approximately every Monday during the year. I hope that's interesting to you. I hope that if you've enjoyed this podcast, you will find a like button to smash somewhere, no matter what podcatcher that you're using, whether you're using the Apple Podcasts app or you're on a Samsung smartphone and you've got an app there that you're using. If you'll find a way to like and share this podcast, that would be great. If you find a way to subscribe so that this podcast is automatically downloaded to your device, that would also be amazing. That signals all these apps that this podcast is worth listening to and is very helpful to me personally. So thank you. I hope your year was amazing, and I wish you amazing success in the coming year. I'll talk to you next year. How cool is that? Ciao.
You can do it right when it's late at night.
You've been listening to the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
Be sure to visit LNIM225.com today to leave feedback for Mark. Download special bonus content, access the show notes, and more. See you there.
Until then, go and make some great progress on your internet business, one night at a time.
one night at a time.
Okay, so I got some really cool stuff for Christmas, but maybe we'll talk about that in a future episode. My wife loves me and she buys me cool things, and I got lots of cool things, some small, some reasonably large. But Santa brought my 14-year-old a full weightlifting set. So as a baseball player in high school, he has been lifting weights because that's a big thing that they do. Starting in high school athletics is big on fitness and conditioning. Weightlifting's a part of that. He's been doing all of this different weightlifting stuff that I never did as a kid. Weightlifting wasn't really so much of a thing when I was coming through high school, and I never did any meaningful weightlifting at all. I never played football, and baseball players certainly didn't lift weights, at least not at the level that I played. And so he's been doing Russian deadlifts and all these other kinds of crazy weightlifting activities. So we got a full cage with lat pull down attachment and bumper plates and hex bars and Olympic sized weights and all this other kind of stuff. And so one of the fun things is he's teaching me how to lift weights because they're teaching him. So we're doing some weightlifting. So that's been exciting. We've been hanging out in the garage. This was a big project to even just build this thing. We've got a nice area in the garage all set up with fans for when it gets warm and music and a nice mat that goes down underneath the weight area, a nice bench and racks for the weights and all that kind of stuff. So it's really set up as a home gym out there, and we're looking forward to doing that. So that's what I'm working on in 2022 as well, is trying to get a little strength back. Normally, I'm a pretty strong guy, but I'd like to get a little stronger. And so that's one of my objectives for 2022. I hope you are having a great day, and I hope that you have some good fitness objectives for 2022 as well. Fitness is a good thing. Theoretically, it will keep you alive longer, and that's also a good thing. Ciao.
Late night internet marketing.
Hey, it's Mark again. I wanted to tell you one more time about this absolutely free resource that I have for helping people who are trying to get the big picture for internet marketing, actually get started and understand what all their choices are. If that's not you, there's no more content. You can skip to the end. But if you're someone who came to this podcast because you're searching for how to get started online and you just can't cut through all the noise, I get it. That was me. In 2007, when I was trying to get started, there were so many people throwing offers at me that I really couldn't even understand what all the different business models were. I couldn't understand how money moved around on the internet, and I couldn't really get a grip on what direction I wanted to go in so I could figure out how to move forward. I've created a free video resource for you just for that purpose at latenightim.com/explain. In several short videos, I just explained to you what internet marketing is all about and what online business is all about and the different options that you have for starting an online business. There's nothing to buy there. You just sign up for access and you get the videos just like that. So if that's interesting to you, or if you know someone who's in a same situation, send them that link, latenightim.com/explain. And let me know what you think. I'd love to hear what people are thinking that are in the exact same position that I was in more than a decade ago in 2007. In some ways, it seems like yesterday. And in some ways, it seems like an entire lifetime ago. Again, that's latenightim.com/explain.
Late night internet marketing.